Warren Buffett is one of the wealthiest, most influential people in the world. His company just made a gigantic bet on the future of real estate. How much did he invest? What does he and the smart money see that most people don't see? I'll help you see it here, and settle in, because by the end of this video, you'll have the lessons that you can learn from this that will 100% affect your own personal finances for decades. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold, Get Rich Education founder, real estate investor, and I'm a longtime member of the Forbes Real Estate Council. I also host the weekly Get Rich Education podcast, which is different from this show. That way you can listen to me on the go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Get Rich Education mobile app. Just this month, it was revealed that Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, appears to be betting on the housing market picking up because they bought more than $814 million worth of home builder stock this spring, and that was learned through SEC filings. Most of the purchases were of giant home builder D.R. Horton, with smaller shares in home builders NVR and Lennar. Now, investors always watch Berkshire's moves closely because of Warren Buffett and his sidekick Charlie Munger's remarkably successful track record over the years. And that's whether purchases are made directly by Buffett or their other two investment managers. Here, we're looking at developer D.R. Horton's sign, where there are plans for 2,100 new single-family homes to be built in Washington County, Utah, which is southwestern Utah. All right, well, why did Berkshire do this? Why the big housing bet? Well, it begins with what I've discussed with you for years here on the channel, so I won't go into it too deeply, but yeah, it's that housing crash. Yes, the collapse in the supply of available homes, and there is more to it than this, but let's quickly check back on how we're doing. Let's bring it up to date with the scarce supply of housing. You can see here that our long-term baseline of available American homes is close to 1.5 million, and the supply crash began in spring of 2020, and you sure can see where it is in the latest month reported. All right, so then down from about 1.5 million, we are still in a condition where available housing stock has crashed more than 55%. So really then, what Buffett and others like him see, but not everyone has the wealth to act like him, is this favorable supply versus demand for the housing market. America's population keeps rising slowly, but that population of prime home buying age millennials, that's rising faster than the general population. That's where the demand comes from. Plus, you can't sit out either buying a home or renting a home. You've got to live somewhere. So that is durable demand, and the supply is already frighteningly low. And really, what do I mean by frightening? I mean, one consequence is that the astounding shortage of entry-level housing, it's making more people homeless. It's sad. Wall Street Journal just reported that homelessness is up an almost incredible 11% since just last year. I mean, you may very well visibly see more homeless people in your city than you ever have before. And you know what? The answers to add housing supply fast are just nowhere to be had, nowhere to be found. They're all slow, from rezoning to attacking NIMBYism to 3D printed homes to shipping container homes to hiring and training enough of a new skilled construction labor force. Every method that you look at for adding direly needed housing supply is slow. And like I've said before, this housing supply crash hedges against a price crash because every available home still brings bidders to support that price, since there are so few of those homes. And though there aren't going to be as many bidders as there were back during the health crisis a few years ago, that's why, even amidst basically a tripling of mortgage interest rates, home prices keep ticking up, and that should continue. Why? Supply versus demand, just Warren Buffett fundamentals. Now, what else does Buffett probably see? It's the fact that brand new home sales are accounting for a greater proportion of the overall home sales. And that's because those with existing homes that already live in them have those ultra low 3 or 4% mortgage rates, and they don't want to sell those existing homes for that reason. Hence, a higher proportion of new homes change hands. And again, Buffett is going for home builders of new homes. Well, despite all these positive fundamentals, fundamentals for the housing market and home builders, home builder stocks had been relatively undervalued compared to other stocks in the S&P 500. And I've got some absurd lack of housing stuff to share with you next, but hey, go ahead and hit that like button if you find the content informative or interesting. I really appreciate the thumbs up. Hey, that might even help me reach a new audience. There are housing shortages all over the place, and it's not going to be solved for decades. In fact, I'm a Forbes Real Estate Council member, and Forbes was just reporting that there's no room at the dorm either. Yes, college student housing is in terribly short supply. In their article, a Cal Berkeley student was quoted as saying, "Gosh, get this is sad. Sleeping in my car and being homeless is probably my only option right now since my family housing for Berkeley is out of reach for the fall," says the 23-year-old. So she lost her spot in the school's housing queue for married students. Middlebury College in Vermont is paying students $10,000 to take the semester off as a wild way to deal with their housing problem. Other schools are housing students in everything from trailers to rooms at a casino resort to taking over hotels for student housing or just leaving students to fend for themselves. The University of Tennessee rented out a nearby Holiday Inn for students, but none of this is as unbelievable as the accommodations offered to the 23 students being housed at the Bear River Casino and Resort. Okay, that's near the College of the Redwoods. It is in the far coastal north of California. Listen to this. You gotta love or hate this one. Still from Forbes, Virginia State University, they are now setting up prefabricated modular buildings near its regular dorms to house 268 students in what they're calling annex units. They look like trailers. These aren't the classrooms. This is where they live and sleep. And in announcing the plan, the school was asked this question: are the units the same as trailers? And here's how they answered. The units are temporary and were pre-constructed before delivery. They will contain the same amenities as our traditional residence halls. That's the end of their quote. Yeah, Virginia State University doesn't want to call them trailers. And off-campus rents, they have gone through the roof. Nationally, they're averaging $2,062 a month. That's up 28% from $1,614 at the start of 2021. That's according to Zillow stats. So everywhere you look in America, and call America the most powerful nation in the world, with the world's largest economy and largest military, all this, and yet we can't even house our own people. It is staggering. All right, so what can you do about this as an investor and a citizen? You could donate to the homeless. You could challenge local zoning laws. You could buy some of the home builder stocks that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger's company did. And again, they are D.R. Horton, NVR, and Lennar. Or you can do what we do here at GRE, our favorite thing: buy rental housing directly. Since it's in demand and in short supply, over the long run, rents should just go up, up, up. Yes, you're going to have to pay a higher mortgage rate for your rental property today if you don't pay all cash. But in a rental that cash flows, your tenant pays that mortgage interest for you. By owning rental housing directly, you could benefit from high inflation, rent income, and the tenant pays down your principal for you too, which is a lot like a retirement plan that someone else funds for you. So those are some of the ways that you can act yourself on what Warren Buffett did. Hey, well, I'd like to know in the comments, what do you see? Do you have an astonishing lack of housing inventory where you live? Apartments with waiting lists of tenants, or something that's more visible? Do you have a homeless story? Do you see more homeless people and vagrants in your city or community? Tell me about your personal homeless observations in the comments here. I'd really value knowing what you see. Let me know. I'm Keith Weinhold. Thanks so much for stopping by.